Hey guys. All right, if there's one thing that I can get out there to developers and publishers, it's to let them know that there is impactful feedback and help that you can get on your projects, on your games in development. And oftentimes, the time we try to get it, it's far too late. Through the Game Doctor consultation service, it's a service that you can use, and the earlier you use it, the more long-term development hours and money you could save. It's actually crazy. I've had testimonies here, and we're actually going to look at one of them where this dev could have saved huge amounts of workload, thousands of hours of development time trying to work around and make things work that ultimately was going to be kind of mediocre at best. And them being able to get and see those roadblocks and hurdles and have a clear lens to how that will probably turn out ahead of time is like infinite results, right? Because now the ball is in their court, they have the lens, and they could do something about it ahead of time. It's very different when you get down to the finish line and it's time for release, and then you're trying to scurry to just make this product as best it can, when in the development process you can make that product better and avoid what you would normally be dealing with. Another thing that I see is like the time comes and then you're reacting to reviews. It's like, oh my god, a lot of people aren't liking this, or there's these fundamental issues, and by then a lot of times it could be either too late or it becomes even harder to kind of remedy and band-aid like the things that are showing up that people are kind of like not okay with or not happy with, when those could be brought to your attention thousands of hours in development time early, hundreds of hours in development time earlier, so that way you can see these things and be like, oh cool, we're already designing around those things. There is help out there. Another thing I want to talk about is there's affordable help, right? No matter what, we will do our best to work with you and give you the results you need, and price shouldn't be the issue, right? I stream and broadcast mostly indie games, and I get the indie world. That is my world, right? I cover some of the most indie games yearly. That I get it. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of indie developers. I get that world, right? And we could get you help and results, right? We can get you those tangible results and that clear lens to your own game to make an even more impactful launch and successful game for yourself. So I wanted to talk a little bit about these testimonies I got, and here's our newest one that you see right above me. The Game Doctor service sounded like a good idea, but the feedback I received made me see the game with different eyes. I never realized how bland the first few hours of my game were. Never realized how bland, right? This game has been tested, beta tested, reviewed, everything already, but somehow it's never been brought to their attention, this clear lens of how their game is played for the first few hours, right? They haven't received that feedback. They might have received, hey, this is boring, or this is bad, or this is good, but never this clear lens to see these. So already these like clear results, right? Have a brand new perspective. I've been working on this game for years, but never got the kind of feedback that Esty gave me, even in the late game. Even if the late game is awesome, if the first few hours are not very exciting, then who would stick with it and keep playing? So here you can see that they have like this brand new perspective, right? Like they realize, hey, I have this awesome stuff. I know this is an awesome game, but oh my god, like my presentation, right? Like this is something new. This developer leveled up and acquired something new that's going to make all of their projects more successful because they grabbed and revealed a new blind spot that they had. Right? Where they see, hey, my game is like this, but then they realize, oh my god, there's a different perspective. My game doesn't look like that for a long time, right? And now they could start to see that, right? And that's so powerful. That's awesome, right? Because one of our things with the Game Doctor service is we're not really here to just, I'm not here to just make your game better. Oh, let's just make that game better. But I can even empower you to level up as a developer, and we can talk about these blind spots and these rough spots in your projects. And every development team, publishing team, I want to say, have these things, right? And I mean, we can even talk about huge successful areas, right? Like, we know Supergiant has very good character and world building. We know that's their forte, right? But we know there's these other areas that could do with some improvement, but we don't have to talk about that here. Every team has it. We all have our blind spots. All right. My publisher also has some QA dudes, but they would never come up with so much useful feedback. That's a great point, and there's a distinction that I want to make. Yes, your QA dudes, as we call them, never had such useful feedback because their job is not to give you that design feedback and those underlying important foundational discussions about your game. They're there to test drive the car when it comes out of the factory and make sure it's good for the shelves and good for purchasing, right? Oh, the headlights are working. This is working great. Steering wheel's fine. Good to go, right? And that's their job. And so there's this big, like, people don't really know that this exists yet, where that's the complete end and like the other side of development, right? And then there's like these open betas and that stuff, but all the way on the other end of the spectrum, where the game is still being spoken to into existence and then being builded upon, that's where you need to get the consultant work, right? That's where you can make sure that the foundation in which we're building everything and the direction in which we're building everything is sound and ready to go, and also avoiding long-term issues that may arise, because if those are brought into our attention early, it will never be a problem because we already are creating our structure to avoid all of those things and handle all of those things. Do you guys see the difference? So yes, those QA dudes are not giving me those useful feedback because the industry doesn't have this type of feedback as a standard yet. And that's the Game Doctor service is trying to create this as a standard to impact our launches and our games and make them more successful, because we'll have a more clear picture of how we're building, where our game lies, and the current market that we're releasing into, to make sure that we are ready for that market that we're releasing into while we're developing our game. Because again, as we know, the market is constantly evolving and shifting, and the modern and the standards of what games are offering is constantly rising and changing and morphing, right? What is hot right now? What are people looking for right now? This constantly changes. So unless you are a person consuming everything on the market and consuming 300, 400, 500 games a year, of course you can't keep up on where everything is at, right? That's why you need a powerful game consultant like the Game Doctor. Got a lot of new ideas for the game now, thank you. So here's another glowing testimony, and these are how they usually go, right? People are like, oh my god, like, why didn't I get this sooner? Or like, why didn't I get this before? But that's because it's not a norm. Your publishers and things are not getting you this kind of work yet, of this powerful work of somebody that's willing to have these conversations of how this is where your game is calling for more or calling for less, or this is where things could be shaved off because it's not impacting the gameplay at all from a gamer's point of view, right? You need to have these conversations, and 100% it is a conversation. You need to be able to engage and dance and try things on in powerful consultation. And again, it very much is a dance. We're going to try different things on. We're going to talk about different things, how different things appear and look and how they feel, right? And this is all the power of having these insightful conversations that will lead to expanded results. I have another one here, and just so people don't ask, for the Game Doctor one on the right, we purposely didn't reveal the developer because we talked about it and they prefer that for now, because they're working on some things behind the scenes that they didn't announce yet, and they don't it'll give too much information away if people know who it is. So just for now, we're gonna keep that one private. Slothworks, on my right here, very successful dev. You know him from Meteor Fall, you know him from Crummets Tale, has made big successful games, and you can see another awesome, like, man, I was ready to tear up, man. Like, this was awesome review. And the thing here is they got, I don't know exactly, but how the huge amount of funding and development hours that they must have saved being able to come to these realizations through conversation for their own and rising to it and seeing something for themselves and being able to come to that, who knows how much money and time they've saved. I worked with Esty to get some early feedback on my game Bramble Royale Meterfall, so we have a tangible game in reality that was being worked on, right? This is not hypothetical, this is tangible results. Watching Esty play through the build in a video, almost like a private stream, really helped drive home some serious issues that the game's core mechanics. There's something about seeing a streamer play your game as if a stream on their channel to really drive home problems in a way that simple text feedback doesn't. We are gonna have a video pretty soon going over exactly how the process works and what it looks like, so stay tuned for that. But one of the first parts of the consultation is being able to sit down and get the initial reaction, commentary, thoughts on what it feels like to play your game, what exactly his emotions are giving off. Hey, there is some confusion here. I don't know exactly what this meant. Oh, okay, got it now, right? And where things click, how things feel. There's a lot of power that can come with that. The early insight that Esty provided helped convince me it was time to turn around and rethink core assumptions I had about the gameplay. So, through the power of conversation and the work, they got to find for themselves a point where they said, hey, this is leading to a lot of dead ends or long-term struggles that I'm gonna have to work around. This is not the direction that I want to take here. And how do you put a price on that? Why is that not a norm in the game industry? I'm just gonna let that sink in and leave that question. Beyond critical feedback, he also provided a ton of pro tips and reminders about what games in the genre will expect in terms of quality of life features. We did talk about this. Unless you are working with somebody that consumes everything on the market, you are not getting the feedback of, hey, this is where your game lies in regards to everything. This is how it's feeling. These are what these other similar things are doing, and the feedback here and the UI here, right? And this is where, hey, this could really be even shiny or even more fun or even more interactive, or hey, people are going to expect these kind of features here. This is the standard, so this is giving certain kinds of feelings, right? There's an infinite power there. A painful lesson, but one that's better to learn before you end up with mixed reviews at launch after sinking in years of development. If that's not an ultimate testimony, man, this one really warmed my heart. Because this is why we started the game doctor consultation business, is because we see these common trends on these releases. And oftentimes we got to a point over the years where it's like we get to check out a game, you know, before release, you know, and this is common, right? We check it out a couple days before release, a day before release, and it's like, hey, these kind of things are very red danger sign, not gonna be great, right? People are not gonna like this type of thing, or this is very clear, hey, all of these other things, this thing is very simple, but now this thing and this one is very complicated, right? Like, okay, I can already see some rough edges here. Hopefully people don't notice those. And then release comes around and it's like, people noticed all those rough edges, right? Because we did take a gamble, and at the end of the day, it is a gamble. You don't need to have this consultation service, right? You could just wing it, and sometimes even if things are not great, people won't notice, but it depends on when those rough spots are getting delivered, like when they're being received, and how big those rough spots are could start to spoil and rotten the rest of the beautiful spots. So ultimately, this is something that's super, super important to me. I want to work with you no matter how big or how small your budget is. I want to be able to work with you and work something out. Please slide in my DMs, contact me, let me know about your game, let me know what you're going for, let me know the spot you're in. I want to work with you, and we could still have, even if we don't end up working together, we could still have those conversations to see if your game could be impacted by a powerful game consultation, and we could see like where it's at and let's have those conversations. At the end of the day, I want to hear from you guys. You know, I do this daily outside of the professional consultation. I am still a gamer at heart, and that's why I do what I do and why I want to help you guys. So if all of these testimonies coming out don't speak for themselves, here I am to tell you guys, man, let's create this difference. Let's start creating this new norm in development where you're getting the consultation that our games deserve and that we deserve as developers to empower the rest of our products and empower our design process. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I was just really excited about these testimonies and just want to take some extra time to tell you guys like where I'm at, and I'm going to talk about them because when I see these things, man, it like it like really starts to like warm my heart. It's like, oh my god, dude, like the results that are getting produced, it's the same way that like what I think I'm giving out. And so it like really like warms my heart because at the end of the day, this is what we're doing, right? We want to make sure that the work that you're putting out and spending years on, this game that you're making, is being received the same way that you hoped was going to be received. And that is the ultimate goal at the end of the day, right? So I guess if these testimonies and stuff started coming out a lot more mixed or a lot more negative, I would have to do a lot of searching and work, right, to figure out why. It's the same with these games that are releasing and coming out like mixed, right? And it's like, well, there's a good game underneath, but we didn't get the proper feedback and work early enough to be able to shift that gamble a little bit more on the high roll side instead of taking that gamble. And now it's, again, we rolled in the middle and the rough spots are starting to show up, and we can avoid those things. And that's really what I want to say. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. This came out way longer than I was expecting, but hey, if this did sound really cool, hey, give us a follow. I would love to hear from you guys. Shoot a DM over, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. All right, Esty out.